New to us, 2012 Honda Pilot. These have the V6 3.5. It's kind of indestructible. Needs valve cover gaskets, which we're doing. So anyway, join us on the journey. I'm John, and this is Out of Order Garage. Thanks for tuning in. So starting the job here, took the air box off. That's just a couple screws. We're taking this off and we'll be back when we get a little more done. Looks like we need another intake boot here. Look, this thing's torn. It's pushed together. I guess it wasn't leaking. The car ran okay, but that means unfiltered air is getting in those grooves and getting into the engine, so that's not good. There's bolts at the bottom of the throttle body, but studs above, and there's not enough room to slide the throttle body easily. So I'm going to take the studs out, and the throttle body can just sit there and the intake can come off with no difficulties. So, yep, we'll try that. Once broken loose, use the double nut technique, get the studs out. And cover the valley up with tape so nothing goes down in that intake. That valve cover gasket's definitely been leaking. You can see it right there. So I've loosened a couple bolts that hold this wiring harness on. Unclipped it from here and there. And got the 3 coils out in the back. So now we're ready to take the valve cover off. After some pulling and turning and twisting, we got the valve cover off. Doesn't look too bad inside there. It's pretty clean. All right, let's get this cover cleaned up, put a new gasket in, and new seals for the spark plug tubes, and we'll put it back together. And then we'll do the other side. This is the hard side, so we're doing this side first. Well, we got it all cleaned up. Now we need to change the seals for the spark plug tubes, and they just pry out. We'll pry one out and replace one. That way we can make sure we got the new one in the right orientation, and the new ones just tap in place. They come out very easily. See? Easy. So here's what we're using for gaskets. Valve cover gaskets by Felpro. Upper intake gaskets by Felpro. I'm gonna put spark plugs in while we're here. Denso 5356. We're also going to replace this gasket set for the VCM. It's not leaking, but it's a preemptive measure. I gotta have the wires off to change it, and the wires are already moved to the side. So anyway, these are the parts we're going to use. It looks like these seals go in this way, not this way. We left one of the original ones in, so turn them like that with the curved side up, and they'll just tap in there. And I left this one in to make sure I get these in the same way, and then I'll change that one last. A little tappy tap tap with a wood block and hammer, should be good to go. Got the new gasket in, it just fits in this slot. New seals in. Now to get these to go over the tubes, it's good to put some lube. We'll probably try some WD-40 because you don't want to tear these. As you're putting the valve cover on, the tubes that are in the head will slip right in there, and hopefully with no tears. You have to change these sealing washers on the valve cover bolts. They give you new rubber washer with a built-in metal thing. You just pry the old ones off and pop the new ones on. The rubber was so brittle, I just ended up cutting it to get it out. And there's all the new washers and the new rubber washers and steel washers on the valve cover bolts. So here are the 3 plugs out of the cylinder bank closest to the firewall, and there's a new one for comparison. So they don't look too bad. Here's what I used to get those plugs in and out in the back bank there. 3/8 socket, 5/8 spark plug socket, short extension, 3-inch extension. This is a locking one, so it locks on to this socket. So when you pull on this, it won't come apart. And then another socket. So you feed this in there part way, snap that on there, take them out. Then when you get the plug loose, pull it out. Then take this extension off, and then the socket, the short extension, and the plug will all clear the firewall. Pretty simple. So after taking all these wire connections loose and taking the coils out, got the valve cover off, 5 bolts. Engine looks pretty clean. And we got this valve cover cleaned up. And let's put some gaskets on it, get it back together. So the PCV valve fits in the end of this front side valve cover. Took it out. Oh, that's not good. It's in several pieces. Good thing we looked at that. Let's go get another one. Didn't expect to do that on this repair, but it's all apart. And hey, while you're up. Okay, so there's a new valve. Looks like we've got some pieces to dig out of the original hole. So let's see what we can do about that. All right, we're able to grab the broken edge, these vice grips, pull it right out. You have to swap this little metal spacer over to the new valve there. And there's the PCV valve. It's kind of a weird setup. There's no external hose or anything. It does all of its stuff internally. Interesting design, huh? And so the new gasket's in place and the new tube seals are in place. So we're all done with this one. Let's put it on. Almost forgot, still got to cut off these old rubber gaskets and then put these new ones on, these bolts for the valve cover. Then we can put the valve cover on. It's just 5 10mm screws that hold the valve cover on, and these screws bottom out against the head, and then it gives the exact right squish for the rubber gaskets. So a pretty neat design. Changing the spark plugs in the front here while we can get to them. So there's the 3 spark plugs from the front bank. They don't look too bad. Even though it's not currently leaking, we're going to change the VCM gaskets. There's the part number. It's down, it's right here, so this is the ideal time to do it while we've got the wiring harness out of the way. This is a while you're up thing. If this leaks oil on the alternator, it'll kill it. So it's a preemptive measure. Got the bolts loosened for the valve, but to get it out, this wiring harness holder was in the way. So I just loosened it, took 1 bolt out, swing it out of the way. Now we can get this valve out. And there you have it. We'll just change the gaskets on it and clean it up a bit. Should be golden. There's a small plate to pry off, so let's do that. There's the plate out, and then there's a gasket down there that has to be carefully pried out with a pick. So here's the old and the new. This gasket goes on the head, then the plate goes on, and this gasket goes in that valve. So you let's put the new stuff in. So the new gasket looks like this will go in the head, put the plate on it. The gasket that looks like that will go in there and bolt it all back together. It's easy as that. So the new gasket and plate are on there. The other new gasket is there, and we just bolt it on. Careful not to get any dirt inside any of that. All right, the valve is on there with the new hardware. Easy job. Two 10mm, one 12mm bolt are what holds that back wiring harness. Bolt goes through there, 10 goes through there, 10 goes through there, and a 12 goes in the side. So let's get all that on. We've got the front wiring harness all clipped in and reinstalled. So as soon as we get that back harness done, put the intake on and try to wrap this project up. And one 12mm bolt goes sideways through this metal bracket, which is part of this wiring harness. It's almost impossible to see, but it's there. So even though you can't see that 12mm bolt, that's how you end up getting to it with a ratchet, a socket. This will end up going back on here, and this bolts to a couple studs on the intake manifold. So after we get the intake on, we'll start hooking this stuff up and figuring it all out. What a neat design. All these gaskets fit into milled slots. You don't need any sealant. It goes on dry. This is why you have to pay attention. For the throttle body gasket, there's the old one. Well, the new kit comes with 4. So you better keep the old one so you can match it up to get the correct new one. Kit came with 2 of these, but in our case we only need 1. Some of these engines have a spacer between the lower intake and the upper intake, and then you'd need 2, one on either side of the spacer, but in our case we only need 1. Also, we matched up old and new intake gaskets to make sure that we have the right stuff. Took the tape off the valley, got the new gasket on, goes on dry, ready to lower the intake in place. Tighten all your 12mm bolts. 2 of them are studs, so you will need a deep socket. Tighten all those, that and that. I like to tighten it, let it sit for a few minutes, and then go back and torque them. I think the final torque is like 18 foot-pounds. For that, I'm not sure. I use the calibrated elbow method. Put your top plate on next, with new gasket, of course. Screw this piece back on with 2 10mm nuts. Now we're putting the throttle body back on. Don't forget the gasket between there. Oh, made a small mistake. I put this on first, but this pipe has to go behind it to hook that onto there. So I have to take this off, slide that there, and do-si-do them around each other. No big deal. That's better. Now it'll all fit in there like it's supposed to. Yeah. Original intake boot was torn, so $50 later, we got a Dorman replacement. Okay, got the new elbow on. That wasn't easy stretching it over there. Had to use a little bit of a WD-40 and some choice words, but it's on there. Okay, I can't remember where this box hooks to. It's got a vacuum line going to it. It looks like it had another vacuum line on it. I'll take a look around, see if I can figure out where it goes. If not, back to the drawing board. Well, it's all together. But will it run? Let's find out. Okay, we're gonna put the jump box on it. Battery was run down from the door being opened. Holy smokes, it runs. So under the hood, sounds good. No more leaky valve cover gaskets. We also changed the VCT solenoid gasket. The PCV valve was all cracked. The air intake hose was cracked. Good thing about this, we just did the timing belt at 95,000. Car's got like 96,000 on it now, so I don't have to worry about that for a long time.